My name is Goldman. I'm the director and founder of Goldman and Associates. Our firm has a primary focus on family law issues, and today we're going to talk about your ex-spouse, particularly in the context of a toxic ex-spouse. What do I mean by that? Well, you all know that in the course of life, you're going to run into different kind of people. And you're going to marry different kind of people. You're going to have relationships with different kind of people, and some of them are good, and some of them are bad, and some of them are toxic. And by toxic, I mean they're like a poison. They're a poison to you. They're a poison to your children. How is one supposed to co-parent the toxic with the toxic ex-spouse? Now, how do you know you're dealing with that level of toxicity? Well, you may know because that venom was directed to you. You may know that. But there are subtleties. There are subtleties where sometimes it's not so clear-cut, but you learn about it later on. I'll give you an example. Your ex always is full of smiles to you, never says a harsh word, but behind your back tells the kids, what a shame that your father had to walk out on us. That's a toxic person. That's a person trying to poison your children. That's toxicity at its greatest. Here's another subtle example. You're having parenting time. You see the kids on alternating weekends. But every time your child is with you, your ex, who has now stepchildren, takes the kids on a great trip and then says, sorry you can't come with us, but you're with your dad this weekend. We're going to Kalahari for the weekend. Sorry you can't make it. You see, that's a toxic ex. Poisoning you in the eye of the child, because now the child thinks, geez, if I didn't have to go with dad, I'd be going to Kalahari. The proper, decent spouse doesn't do that. The decent spouse will call you up and say, hey, we want to take the kids to Kalahari, want to make sure that, little Susan is going to be with us on that day. We want to make sure, let's pull out our calendars and coordinate. That's what the decent person does. The toxic person doesn't do that. The toxic person specifically schedules fun things when the child's with you so that you can be blamed for it. So you got to watch for that. There are other ways that a person can be toxic. They can be toxic by telling your friends, the mutual friends that you used to have, bad-mouthing you to the friends. See, these are all kinds of things. So how are you supposed to deal with it? Well, I will tell you this. It's very important in these kind of things to take the high road. It's very important to not mimic the toxicity. If your ex is telling the child that dad's a bad guy, don't do that. Tell the child that mom is a good person. She might be having trouble coping with the divorce, but she's going to get better at it, and we're all going to work this out. Everything should be positive. The kids should never get any negativity from you. And why? Because those kids are going to grow up, and eventually they're going to realize that the one who's complaining, there's one who's not complaining, one who is, and the one who's complaining is really the problem. They will figure that out. They will, because, and think about it, just in your daily life. You're online waiting for the movies, and there's somebody screaming their head off about how they were mistreated. What do you think? Do you think, in your head, do you think they were mistreated? Or do you think there's somebody who's nuts who belongs in an asylum somewhere? Of course you think the latter. You don't get involved because it's human nature to look at that person and say, you know what, that person's got some kind of problem. Eventually your kids will figure that out, that the one who's always bad-mouthing is the one who's got a problem. And the other one is just trying to be decent about it and set a good example. Your kids will pick up on that. They're very, very smart and very perceptive about those things. So I would discourage you to get down into the dirt with your ex. If they're toxic, so be it. Tell your lawyer. Your lawyer can file appropriate motions. Never tell the kids that something bad about the other parent. Never tell the kids that you're taking the ex to court because she's doing the wrong thing or he's doing the wrong thing. Don't involve your children in that. Remember who they are. They're just kids. They should be in the middle of that. But do take steps with your lawyer to deal with that. And on a personal level, don't get involved in that. It may feel good at that moment, but at the end of the day, it doesn't serve your kids well. And if it doesn't serve your kids well, it doesn't serve you well. If you have any questions about that, reach out, and we'll be glad to help you out.